The marble floors of the Moretti estate gleamed under crystal chandeliers, each surface polished to perfection by hands that society preferred not to see. My hands. I pushed the cleaning cart down the east corridor, my rubber-soled shoes silent against stone that cost more per square foot than I earned in a month. Naomi, you missed a spot. I turned to find Mrs. Chen, the head housekeeper, pointing at a baseboard I'd already cleaned twice. Her face was kind but tired. She'd been managing this household for 20 years and wore the exhaustion like a second skin. Yes, ma'am. I crouched down, wiping the imaginary smudge. The Moretti mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut occupied 12,000 square feet of old money and older secrets. I'd worked here for 6 months, arriving each Monday through Friday at 6 in the morning and leaving at 4 in the afternoon. The pay was good. $18 an hour, which was survival money when you had a 6-year-old daughter and rent in Bridgeport that climbed higher every year. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. My daughter Maya was the reason I endured the 2-hour commute each way. The reason I smiled politely when spoken to like furniture. The reason I accepted that some spaces in America still operated like the 1800s, despite it being 2023. She deserved better than the childhood I'd had. Better schools, better opportunities, better chances. Naomi. The voice cut through my thoughts like a blade, sharp, entitled, venomous. Isabella Moretti stood at the top of the grand staircase, her silk robe flowing behind her like she was posing for a portrait. 28 years old, beautiful in the way that expensive maintenance created, and cruel in the way that boredom cultivated. She was Dominic Moretti's younger sister, and she'd made my life miserable from my first day. Yes, Miss Isabella? I straightened, keeping my expression neutral. The guest suite wasn't properly cleaned yesterday. There was dust on the nightstand. Her Italian accent, cultivated despite being born in New York, made every word sound like an accusation. I cleaned that room thoroughly, Miss Isabella. Are you calling me a liar? She descended the stairs slowly, deliberately, her heels clicking against marble. You people always have excuses. Always think you know better than your employers. You people. The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning that both of us understood perfectly. I bit the inside of my cheek, tasting copper. No, ma'am, I'll clean it again. You'll do more than that. Isabella stopped 3 steps above me, using the height advantage to look down with undisguised contempt. You'll learn what happens when you disrespect this family. Mrs. Chen appeared from the kitchen, concern creasing her weathered face. Miss Isabella, perhaps I should inspect the room with Naomi. We can address any issues. This doesn't concern you? Isabella's gaze never left my face. Naomi, follow me. Now. Every instinct screamed to refuse, to grab my coat and walk out. But Maya's face appeared in my mind. Her gap-toothed smile when I'd told her about the new school I could afford if I kept this job through the summer. The art program she wanted to join, the field trip to the science museum. I followed Isabella. She led me through the house, past the formal dining room where oil paintings of dead Morettis watched with stern faces, past the library with its leather-bound books that no one read, past the solarium where sunlight streamed through windows that I cleaned every Tuesday. We descended. The basement stairs were narrower, older, the kind that spoke of a house's true age beneath its renovated facade. The temperature dropped with each step. At the bottom, Isabella pulled a keyring from her pocket, an unusual sight, since most of the house remained unlocked during working hours. Miss Isabella, where are we going? My voice echoed off concrete walls. She unlocked a heavy wooden door that I'd never noticed before, revealing stairs that descended even further. Somewhere you can think about your attitude. I don't understand. You will. She shoved me, hard. I stumbled forward, catching myself on the railing as I half fell down the steep stairs. Behind me, the door slammed shut. A lock clicked into place. Darkness swallowed me whole. Miss Isabella! I scrambled back up the stairs, pounding on the door. Miss Isabella, please! This isn't… You can't… I can do whatever I want in my family's house. Her voice filtered through the wood, muffled but clear. You'll stay there until you learn your place. Maybe a few hours alone will teach you proper respect. Her footsteps retreated. Then silence. I fumbled for my phone, my hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. No signal. Of course there was no signal in what appeared to be a cellar beneath the basement. The screen's light revealed stone walls, a dirt floor, and absolute emptiness. No furniture, no windows, just cold and dark and the smell of earth. My breath came faster. The walls seemed to press closer. I'd been claustrophobic since childhood, since the time my foster father had locked me in a closet for breaking a dish. The memories crashed over me. Small spaces, darkness, the feeling of invisible hands squeezing my lungs. Breathe, I whispered to myself. Just breathe. Someone will find you. Mrs. Chen knows you came down here with Isabella. Someone will come. But would they? Mrs. Chen was kind but powerless against the Moretti family's whims. The other household staff kept their heads down and their mouths shut. And Isabella had the protection of a family name that meant something in Greenwich and beyond. I sank down on the bottom step, wrapping my arms around my knees. Maya would be getting out of school in 4 hours. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, would pick her up as usual, but Maya would expect me home by 5:30. When I didn't arrive, she'd worry. She'd ask questions in that serious way she had, her brown eyes too knowing for 6 years old. Mama will be fine, I told the darkness, practicing the words I'd say when I saw her again. Mama just got held up at work. Time moved strangely in the dark. Minutes felt like hours. I checked my phone compulsively. No signal. Battery at 63%. The screen's light had become my only companion, a small rebellion against the suffocating blackness. I thought about Isabella's face when she'd shoved me, the satisfaction there, the certainty that she could do this without consequences. How many times had she done this before? How many other workers had experienced her cruelty? And where was Dominic Moretti in all this? I'd only seen the man twice in 6 months. He kept odd hours, arriving home late and leaving early, always surrounded by men in dark suits who moved with military precision. The staff whispered about his business. Legitimate restaurants and real estate on paper, but everyone knew the Moretti name carried weight in circles where contracts weren't signed, they were enforced. A mafia boss. That's what my coworker Jennifer had told me during my second week. Dominic Moretti inherited his father's empire at 25. Now he's 32 and runs half of Connecticut. Don't cross him, don't ask questions, and definitely don't catch his attention. I'd been grateful for my invisibility. Cleaners existed in wealthy homes like ghosts, necessary but unseen, present but unacknowledged. It was safer that way. But now I was trapped in his sister's personal punishment chamber, and I wondered if safety had been an illusion all along. My phone showed 1:15. I'd been here for 2 hours. My back ached from sitting on the stone steps. The cold had seeped into my bones, making me shiver despite my uniform's long sleeves. I wrapped my arms tighter around myself and thought about Maya's warmth when she'd hug me goodnight, her small arms impossibly strong. "I'm sorry, baby," I whispered. "Mama's trying." The sound of footsteps above made me jolt upright. Heavy, masculine, multiple sets moving with purpose. Absolutely insane, even for you. A man's voice, deep and controlled but edged with fury. "Where is she?" I don't know what you're talking about. Isabella's voice, defensive now, uncertain. The maid, Naomi Mitchell. Mrs. Chen said you took her to the basement 2 hours ago. She never came back up. Dominic Moretti. I'd heard his voice only once before, giving instructions to his driver, but the authority in it was unmistakable. The kind of voice that expected obedience and received it. She was being disrespectful. Where is she? Each word landed like a physical blow. Silence. Then the sound of keys jangling, footsteps approaching. The lock clicked. The door swung open, flooding the stairway with light that made me squint and raise my hand to shield my eyes. A figure descended the stairs quickly, gracefully despite their size. As my vision adjusted, I saw him clearly for the first time. Dominic Moretti was tall, at least 6'3", with broad shoulders that his tailored charcoal suit couldn't quite contain. Dark hair, slightly longer than was fashionable, fell across his forehead. His face was all sharp angles and controlled intensity, the kind of handsome that intimidated rather than invited. But his eyes, deep brown, almost black, held something unexpected as they fixed on me huddled on the bottom step. Concern, genuine, unguarded concern. Ms. Mitchell. He crouched down, bringing himself to my level. Are you hurt? I tried to speak, but my throat had closed. I shook my head. Can you stand? He extended a hand, large, scarred across the knuckles, steady. I stared at that hand like it might burn me. In my experience, powerful men didn't offer help without expecting payment, but sitting in that cellar another minute would break something in me. So I placed my trembling fingers in his palm. His hand was warm, impossibly warm after the cellar's cold. He pulled me up gently, supporting my weight when my legs wobbled. I've got you. The words were soft, meant only for me. You're safe now. Safe. The word felt foreign. He guided me up the stairs, his hand at the small of my back. Not possessive, just steadying. At the top, the basement looked like paradise. Light, space, air that didn't taste of earth and fear. Isabella stood near the door, her earlier confidence evaporated. 2 men in dark suits flanked her, their expressions carefully neutral. Dominic didn't look at his sister. He kept his focus on me. Marco, call Dr. Reeves. Tell her we need a house call immediately. I'm fine. I managed, my voice hoarse. I need to get home. My daughter. Your daughter is being cared for. Dominic's voice remained calm. I had Vincent collect her from school and bring her here. She's in the kitchen with Teresa, having cookies and apparently conducting an art lesson. I stared at him. What? How did you? Mrs. Chen provided your emergency contacts when you didn't resurface. I made sure your daughter was safe before addressing the situation. He finally turned to Isabella, and his expression transformed into something cold enough to frost the air. You and I will speak privately. Now. Dominic, I didn't mean... Now. Isabella flinched. The men in suits stepped aside, and she walked past them with her head held high but her hands shaking. Dominic followed, pausing only to instruct the older of the 2 men. Marco, stay with Ms. Mitchell. Get her whatever she needs. Water, food, medical attention. And for God's sake, get her warm. Then he was gone, disappearing down the hallway with his sister. I heard a door close. Then shouting. Dominic's voice raised for the first time, the Italian words harsh and unforgiving. Marco, a gray-haired man in his 50s with kind eyes, gestured toward a sitting room. Please, Ms. Mitchell, come sit. I'll bring you some water. I let him guide me to a plush sofa that probably cost more than my car. My body was still shaking, adrenaline and cold and fear all mixing together. Marco returned with water in a crystal glass and a soft blanket that he draped over my shoulders. Drink slowly, he advised. You've had a shock. My daughter, Maya. She's really here? Safe in the kitchen. Teresa's been with the Moretti family for 30 years. She raised Dominic and Isabella. Your daughter couldn't be in better hands. He paused. Would you like to see her? Yes, please. He led me through the house to the kitchen, a massive space with marble counters and commercial-grade appliances that somehow still managed to feel warm. At the center island, a small girl with two puff ponytails sat on a stool, carefully drawing on a large sheet of paper. Beside her, a plump woman in her 60s with silver hair smiled encouragingly. Mama! Maya looked up, her face lighting with relief before concern took over. You're shaking. Are you cold? I crossed the kitchen and pulled her into my arms, breathing in her familiar scent of school and childhood. Crayons and apple juice and innocence. I'm okay, baby. Just had a long day. Teresa gave me hot chocolate with marshmallows. She pulled back to look at my face, her expression turning serious in that way that made her seem far older than 6. You look sad. I'm not sad now. Not now that I'm with you. I kissed her forehead, holding her close. Teresa stood, wiping her hands on her apron. You need food, real food, not just water. Sit. I'll make you something. Before I could protest, she was already moving, pulling out bread, cheese, tomatoes, olive oil. Within minutes, the kitchen filled with the smell of garlic and herbs as she assembled what looked like a gourmet grilled cheese. Maya returned to her drawing, explaining each color choice with the seriousness of a museum curator. I watched her, let her voice wash over me, and tried to process what had happened. Isabella had locked me in a cellar. For hours. Because I'd allegedly missed some dust. Dominic had freed me, had made sure Maya was safe before anything else, was currently destroying his sister in what sounded like very creative Italian profanity. Nothing about this fit the narrative I'd built in my head, the narrative where I was invisible, disposable, easily replaced. Teresa set a plate in front of me. Eat, you're too thin. The sandwich was perfect, crispy bread, melted cheese, a hint of basil. I hadn't realized I was starving until the first bite. Maya climbed down from her stool and leaned against me while I ate, her small hand patting my arm in comfort. The man who brought me here was nice, she said. Vincent. He has a funny accent and he let me pick music in the car. We listened to the Frozen soundtrack. Twice. Despite everything, I smiled. That sounds fun. He said you work very hard, that you're the best cleaner Mr. Moretti has. She looked up at me with those two knowing eyes. Are we going to keep working here? I didn't have an answer. The smart thing would be to quit immediately, to get as far from this family as possible. But the memory of Dominic's hand, warm, steady, safe, complicated everything. Footsteps approached. Dominic entered the kitchen, his expression still carved from stone, but his eyes softer when they landed on Maya pressed against my side. Ms. Mitchell, may I speak with you privately? Dominic led me to a study just off the main hallway, all dark wood and leather, the kind of masculine space that smelled of old books and expensive whiskey. He closed the door gently, then gestured for me to sit in one of the wingback chairs facing his desk. He didn't sit behind the desk, though. Instead, he took the chair beside mine, eliminating the power dynamic that furniture could create. First, I want to apologize. His voice was quieter than before, but no less controlled. What my sister did was unconscionable, cruel, criminal, actually. You would be well within your rights to press charges. I stared at my hands folded in my lap. People like me don't press charges against people like you. People like me? Powerful, connected, the kind of people who make problems disappear. I finally met his eyes. I need this job, Mr. Moretti. I need the income. So whatever you're about to say, whether you're firing me to protect your sister or offering me money to stay quiet, just say it. I'm too tired for games. Something flickered across his face. Respect, maybe, or recognition of someone who'd learned to expect the worst because life had taught them to. I'm not firing you, and I'm not offering you hush money. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Isabella is no longer welcome in this house. I've arranged for her to move into the apartment in Manhattan that our father left her. She'll receive her trust fund income, but she will have no involvement in family business, no access to family properties, and no contact with household staff. Ever. I blinked. You're banishing her? I'm protecting people who work for me from someone who clearly can't be trusted around them. His jaw tightened. This isn't the first complaint I've received about Isabella's behavior, but it's the worst, and it's the last. She's your sister. She's an adult who made a choice to torture someone weaker than her for entertainment. The words came out flat, final. Family doesn't excuse cruelty. My father taught me that loyalty flows both ways, up and down the hierarchy. I protect the people under my roof. All of them. That includes you. The certainty in his voice made something in my chest tighten. I don't need protection, I just need to do my job and go home to my daughter. You needed protection today. He stood, moving to the window that overlooked the manicured grounds. And I failed to provide it. That's on me. How is your sister's behavior your fault? Because I knew she was difficult. I knew she had contempt for staff. I chose to ignore it because dealing with Isabella required energy I didn't have. He turned back to me, and for the first time I saw something vulnerable in his expression. My sister lost our parents 5 years ago in a car accident. I was 27, suddenly responsible for her and an organization I wasn't prepared to lead. I made excuses for her grief, her anger, her need to feel powerful when everything else felt out of control. I enabled her. And you paid the price. The honesty disarmed me. I'd expected deflection, legal threats, maybe a severance package. Not this. A man taking responsibility for something that wasn't technically his fault. What happens now? I asked quietly. Now, you decide what you need. He returned to his chair, giving me his full attention. If you want to leave this job, I'll provide excellent references and 3-month severance pay. If you want to press charges against Isabella, I'll ensure you have the best legal representation available. If you want to continue working here, your salary doubles effective immediately, and you'll work directly under Mrs. Chen with no interaction required with any family members except myself. Why would you offer me more money to stay? Because you're excellent at your job. Because Mrs. Chen says you're reliable, thorough, and kind to everyone on staff. Because you have a daughter who deserves stability. He paused. And because I'd like the chance to prove that not everyone in this family is a monster. I studied his face, searching for deception. But his dark eyes held nothing except sincerity and something else. A weariness that spoke of burdens carried too long. I need to think about it. Of course, take the rest of the week off. Paid, naturally. Vincent will drive you and Maya home. He stood, clearly ready to end the conversation, but paused at the door. Ms. Mitchell, thank you for not immediately assuming the worst of me. Most people do. Most people probably have good reason. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Fair enough. Vincent drove a black SUV that probably cost more than I'd earn in 5 years. He was tall, muscular, with graying hair and an accent that sounded vaguely Eastern European. Maya chattered the entire 45-minute drive to Bridgeport, telling him about her school and her favorite subjects, and the science project she was planning about butterflies. He listened with genuine interest, asking questions that made her explanations grow more animated. When we finally pulled up to my apartment building, a tired 3-story structure that had seen better decades, he insisted on walking us to the door. Mr. Moretti's orders, he said when I protested. Make sure you're safely inside. My apartment was small. One bedroom that Maya and I shared. A kitchen barely large enough for two people. A living room with a couch I'd found on Craigslist. But it was clean, and it was ours. Decorated with Maya's artwork and the few belongings that had survived multiple moves over the years. Vincent's gaze swept the space quickly, cataloging exits, I realized, assessing security. Lock the deadbolt when I leave, he said. And this. He handed me a business card with a phone number printed in simple black text. Mr. Moretti's personal line. If you need anything, if anyone bothers you, if you feel unsafe, anything, you call. Day or night. I won't need. Keep it anyway. His expression was kind but firm. In my experience, the people who insist they don't need help are usually the ones who need it most. After he left, I made dinner. Pasta with butter and parmesan, Maya's favorite. She set the table without being asked, her small face serious as she arranged paper napkins with precise care. Mama, are we in trouble? She asked as we sat down. No, baby. Why would you think that? Because Vincent had to drive us home, and you were locked somewhere scary, and that lady at the big house looked really mad. She pushed pasta around her plate. Did I do something wrong? My heart cracked. Oh, Maya, no. You did nothing wrong. None of this is your fault. Then whose fault is it? How did you explain to a 6-year-old that some people were cruel simply because they could be? That power without accountability created monsters? That the world wasn't fair and probably never would be? Sometimes people make bad choices, I said finally. But the important thing is we're safe now. And we're together. That's what matters. She nodded, but her eyes remained troubled. Too much wisdom, too much understanding. Children her age should believe in fairness and justice and happy endings, but Maya had already learned that life didn't guarantee any of those things. That night, after she'd fallen asleep beside me, her small body curled against mine, one hand clutching her stuffed elephant, I lay awake staring at the ceiling. The business card sat on my nightstand, the phone number visible even in the dark. Dominic Moretti had freed me, had banished his sister, had offered me choices instead of demands, had made sure Maya was safe before anything else. But he was still a criminal, still someone whose business involved things I didn't want to imagine. Getting closer to him, accepting his protection, meant entering a world I'd spent my whole life avoiding. I thought about the cellar, the darkness, the helplessness. Isabella's satisfied smile as she'd locked the door. Then I thought about Dominic's hand, warm, steady, safe, pulling me up from that bottom step. I picked up my phone and typed a message to the number on the card. Mr. Moretti, this is Naomi Mitchell. I'd like to discuss returning to work. Are you available to talk tomorrow? The response came within 2 minutes. Ms. Mitchell, I'm available whenever is convenient for you. Would you prefer to meet at the house or somewhere more neutral? DM. The fact that he'd given me the choice mattered more than I wanted to admit. The house is fine. 10 a.m.? Perfect. Vincent will pick you up at 9:15. Bring Maya if you'd like. Teresa has been asking about her. DM. I set the phone down and pulled Maya closer, breathing in her scent. Tomorrow, I'd make a decision that would change everything. Tonight, I'd just hold my daughter and pretend the world was simple. Vincent arrived exactly at 9:15 the next morning, this time in a more modest sedan that wouldn't stand out in my neighborhood. Maya bounced in her seat the entire drive, excited to see Teresa again, and the really big kitchen with the shiny things. Mrs. Chen met us at the service entrance, her weathered face breaking into a genuine smile when she saw us. Naomi, and little Maya, come in, come in. Teresa's been baking all morning. The kitchen did indeed smell like heaven. Fresh bread, something chocolate and cinnamon that made my mouth water. Teresa turned from the stove and immediately pulled Maya into a hug. "There's my little artist. I saved your drawings. They're on the refrigerator, see?" She pointed to where Maya's sketches had been carefully displayed with magnets. Maya's face lit up. "You kept them?" "Of course. They're beautiful. Now I need your help. I'm making biscotti, but I can't remember. Should we add more vanilla or more almond extract?" While Maya was absorbed in her critical baking consultation, Mrs. Chen touched my arm gently. "Mr. Moretti is in his study. He asked that you join him when you're ready." The walk to the study felt longer than yesterday. I'd dressed carefully. Not my cleaning uniform, but the one nice blouse I owned paired with black pants. Professional, but not presumptuous. My hair was pulled back in a neat bun, my only jewelry the small cross necklace my grandmother had given me years ago. I knocked on the door frame. Dominic looked up from papers spread across his desk, and something in his expression eased when he saw me. "Ms. Mitchell, please, come in." He gestured to the same chairs from yesterday. This time, he did sit behind his desk initially, but when he saw me hesitate, he moved around to the chair beside mine again. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Maya slept through the night, which helped." "And you? Did you sleep?" The question was too personal, too perceptive. "Some." He nodded, accepting the deflection. "I asked you here because I'd like to discuss a different arrangement. Not cleaning." My stomach dropped. "I thought you said I wasn't fired." "You're not. I'm offering you a different position." He pulled out a folder, opened it to reveal what looked like a contract. "I need someone to manage my household. Mrs. Chen is retiring at the end of the year. Her daughter lives in California, and she wants to be closer to her grandchildren. I need someone to replace her. Someone organized, trustworthy, capable of managing staff and maintaining standards." I stared at him. "You want me to be your head housekeeper?" "The position comes with a salary of $80,000 annually, full health insurance for you and Maya, and housing." "Housing?" "There's a cottage on the property. 3 bedrooms, fully renovated last year. It's been empty since my father's estate manager retired. You and Maya would have privacy, security, and no commute." He leaned back, watching my reaction. "Mrs. Chen would train you over the next 3 months. You'd have full authority over household staff, management of vendors and schedules, oversight of maintenance. It's demanding work, but you'd be excellent at it." "You don't know that. You've barely seen me work." "I know you raised a thoughtful, articulate 6-year-old while working multiple jobs. I know you're meticulous based on Mrs. Chen's reports. I know you're brave enough to speak truth to power even when it's dangerous." His voice softened. "And I know you deserve better than a 2-hour commute to clean other people's houses." The offer was staggering, life-changing, suspicious in its generosity. "Why?" I asked. "This feels like too much for someone you just met." "Because I need someone I can trust, and trust has to start somewhere." He met my eyes directly. "I'm not a good man, Ms. Mitchell. I run businesses that operate in gray areas. I make decisions that keep people safe but aren't always legal. I've done things I'm not proud of because they were necessary. But I keep my word. Always. And I'm giving you my word that this offer is genuine, with no strings attached beyond the job itself." "What about your sister? Won't she?" "Isabella is no longer relevant to this household." His tone turned cold. "She's been removed from all family business. She will not return to Connecticut. If she attempts to contact you or Maya, you will inform me immediately and I will handle it. Permanently." The word permanently carried weight that made my skin prickle. "I need time to think." "Take all the time you need." He stood, moved back around his desk. The offer stands indefinitely. Your cleaning position is available if you want it. Or you can walk away entirely with my blessing and the severance I mentioned. But I hope. He paused, something vulnerable crossing his face again. I hope you'll give me the chance to prove that working here can be different. Better. Safe. Safe. That word again. From a man whose profession was built on violence and threats. But when I looked at Dominic Moretti, really looked, I didn't see a monster. I saw someone carrying weight he'd never asked for, trying to do right by people despite operating in a world that rewarded wrong. I saw someone who'd freed me from darkness when he could have ignored it. Someone who'd made sure my daughter was safe before anything else. I saw someone who reminded me of myself, doing whatever was necessary to survive and protect what mattered. "Can I see the cottage?" I asked. "Before I decide?" His face broke into a genuine smile, the first I'd seen, and it transformed him completely. Made him look younger, lighter, almost hopeful. "Of course. Let me show you." The cottage sat at the edge of the property, tucked among trees that would provide shade in summer and shelter in winter. White clapboard siding, black shutters, a small porch with a swing. It looked like something from a magazine, the kind of house I'd dreamed about but never imagined actually living in. Inside was even better. Hardwood floors throughout, an open kitchen with modern appliances, a living room with a fireplace. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms, one clearly meant as a master, 2 smaller ones perfect for a child and a home office. The bathroom had been completely updated, all white subway tile and brushed nickel fixtures. "It's beautiful," I breathed, standing in the middle of the living room. "It's perfect." "Is that a yes?" Dominic stood in the doorway, watching me with careful attention. Maya's voice drifted up from downstairs where Teresa had followed us, still discussing biscotti techniques. Her laughter, pure and unguarded, echoed through the empty house. I thought about our 1-bedroom apartment in Bridgeport. The walls so thin I could hear neighbors arguing at 2 a.m. The radiator that clanked but never quite provided enough heat. The neighborhood where I walked Maya to school with keys threaded between my fingers just in case. I thought about this house, this job, this unprecedented opportunity. And I thought about the cost. Because nothing this good came without one. "What do you really want from me, Mr. Moretti?" I turned to face him fully. Nobody gives this much to a stranger without wanting something in return. He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching my face. "I want someone in my house I can trust. Someone who will tell me the truth even when it's uncomfortable. Someone who will treat the people who work here with dignity because they understand what it's like to be treated without it." He moved into the room, stopping a respectful distance away. "I want to know that when I come home at 3 a.m. exhausted and covered in other people's mistakes, there's at least one space in my life that's clean and honest and uncomplicated. And maybe, eventually, I want to prove to you that I'm not the monster everyone assumes I am." The vulnerability in his voice caught me off guard. This was a man who commanded respect through fear and power, suddenly asking for something he couldn't take by force. My trust. "I need guarantees," I said, "in writing, about Maya's safety, about my position, about what happens if this doesn't work out." "Done. My lawyer will draw up a contract that protects you and Maya completely. You'll have final approval on every word. And if I decide to leave, for any reason, then you leave, with 6 months severance and references that will get you hired anywhere you want to work." He extended his hand. "Do we have an understanding, Ms. Mitchell?" I looked at his hand, scarred, capable of violence, but steady, and somehow safe. I thought about Maya's laughter echoing through this beautiful house. I thought about the opportunity to build something better than survival. I placed my hand in his. "We have an understanding, but I have one more condition." "Name it." You call me Naomi. Ms. Mitchell makes me feel like I'm about to get fired. That smile again, transforming his whole face. Only if you call me Dominic. Mr. Moretti was my father. His hand was warm around mine. The handshake lasted a moment longer than professional, and when we finally pulled apart, something had shifted between us. An understanding, an acknowledgement of risk and trust and possibility. When can we move in? Maya's voice came from the stairs, Teresa right behind her. My daughter's face was incandescent with hope. Mama, can we? Please. Teresa says there's a garden where we could plant vegetables. I looked at Dominic. He looked back at me. And in that moment, I made the decision that would change everything. We can move in this weekend, if that works for you? That works perfectly. Dominic's smile widened. Welcome home, Naomi. Home. The word felt foreign and familiar all at once, like something I'd been searching for my entire life without quite knowing it. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya threw her arms around my waist, squealing with excitement. Teresa beamed at both of us, and Dominic stood in the doorway of what would become our home, watching with an expression that made my heart do something complicated in my chest. I'd just agreed to live on the property of a Mafia boss, to work for him, to trust him with my daughter's safety and my own future. Either this was the best decision I'd ever make, or the worst. Only time would tell which. Moving into the cottage took 3 hours because we owned so little. 2 suitcases of clothes, Maya's toys in a cardboard box, my grandmother's quilt, and a handful of photographs that had survived every apartment change. That was the sum of our possessions. Vincent and 2 other men whose names I didn't catch carried everything inside while Maya ran from room to room, claiming the bedroom with the window seat as her own. Mama, look! I can see the garden from here. Her face pressed against the glass, breath fogging the pain. And there's a bird. A red one. Cardinal, Teresa said from the doorway, carrying fresh linens that smelled of lavender. They mate for life, those birds. Very loyal. I helped her make the beds, first Maya's, then mine, while my daughter provided running commentary on every discovered treasure. A closet big enough to stand in. A bathroom with a tub instead of just a shower. Outlets that didn't spark when you plugged things in. She's happy, Teresa observed, smoothing the comforter on my bed with practiced efficiency. When was the last time you saw her this happy? I thought back, searching for a memory. Her 5th birthday. I'd saved enough for a real cake from a bakery and 2 presents. She'd wanted art supplies. The good kind, not dollar store crayons. She smiled for a week. And you? When were you last happy? The question caught me off guard. I couldn't remember. Happiness felt like a luxury I couldn't afford. Something other people experienced while I focused on survival. I don't know, I admitted. Teresa's weathered hand covered mine, stopping my nervous smoothing of already smooth sheets. Then maybe it's time to learn. Dominic. He's a good man, whatever people say. He takes care of the people under his roof. You're safe here, Naomi. Both of you. Why does everyone keep saying that? Safe? I pulled my hand away, suddenly restless. I'm working for a criminal, living on his property. Letting my daughter get attached to a world that could disappear in a moment if the FBI decides to raid or rival families decide to attack, or you could live your life, Teresa interrupted gently. Feed your daughter. Sleep in a warm bed. Stop looking over your shoulder every second. Maybe that's what safe really means. Before I could respond, Maya called from downstairs. Mama, someone's here. I descended to find Dominic in our living room, looking somehow both comfortable and out of place. He'd changed from the suit into dark jeans and a black sweater that made him look less intimidating but no less powerful. In his hands, he carried a box wrapped in brown paper. I hope I'm not intruding. I wanted to bring a housewarming gift. He offered the box to Maya, who'd frozen halfway down the stairs at the sight of him. It's okay, baby, I said. Mr. Moretti, Dominic, brought something for us. Maya approached cautiously, then took the box with both hands. What is it? Open it and see. She tore the paper with the enthusiasm only children possessed, revealing a wooden box with a brass latch. Inside, nestled in velvet, was a set of professional art supplies: oil pastels, watercolors, brushes in every size, sketch pads with thick, quality paper. Maya's gasp was pure wonder. These are the real kind, the kind real artists use. Teresa mentioned you like to draw, Dominic said, crouching down to her level. I thought you might enjoy having proper materials. I love them. She threw her arms around his neck before I could stop her. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Dominic's expression, surprise melting into something soft and vulnerable, made my chest tighten. His arms came up automatically to return the hug, careful and gentle, like he wasn't quite sure how to hold a child, but was determined to try. When Maya pulled back, she was all ready. Planning. I'm going to draw you a picture of the cardinal Teresa showed me. I'll make it really good, I promise. She raced upstairs with her treasures, leaving Dominic and me alone in the living room. He stood slowly, something uncertain in his posture. That was very kind, I said. You didn't have to. I wanted to. He moved toward the window, hands in his pockets. I've never been good with children, never spent time around them. But Maya, she's special. The way she looks at the world, finds joy in small things. It's refreshing. She's had to grow up fast, but I try to let her be a kid when I can. You're doing an exceptional job. He turned back to me. I meant to ask, does she need anything else? School supplies? Clothes? Anything? Mrs. Chen mentioned children grow quickly. Dominic, you've already given us so much. The job, this house, those art supplies, probably cost more than money I have. What I don't have is... He stopped himself, jaw tightening. Don't have what? This. He gestured vaguely at the house, at the stairs where Maya's footsteps could be heard. Normal. Innocent. The sound of a child laughing without fear. My world doesn't have much of that. The admission was raw, unguarded. I saw past the dangerous man to something underneath. Someone lonely. Someone who'd sacrificed normal for necessary. Someone who envied what I had even as he provided protection for it. You're welcome here, I heard myself say. In this house. Anytime. If you want somewhere that feels normal, I mean. The door's open. His dark eyes studied my face, searching for something. You might regret that invitation. Maybe. But I'm making it anyway. The air between us felt charged, weighted with implications I wasn't ready to examine. Before either of us could speak again, my phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. I should take this, I said, grateful for the interruption. Of course, I'll let you settle in. He moved toward the door, then paused. Naomi, thank you for the invitation, for trusting me with your daughter's happiness, for giving me a chance to be something other than what people expect. He left before I could respond, the door clicking softly behind him. I answered the phone. Hello? Is this Naomi Mitchell? A woman's voice, professional but cold. Yes. Who's... This is Catherine Brennan from Greenwich Child Protective Services. We received a report that you're living with your 6-year-old daughter on the property of Dominic Moretti. We need to schedule a home visit to ensure the environment is appropriate for a child. My blood turned to ice. A report? From who? I'm not at liberty to say, But given Mr. Moretti's documented associations with organized crime, we have concerns about your daughter's welfare. We'll be visiting Monday at 10 a.m. Please be present with all relevant documentation, proof of employment, housing arrangements, custody papers. I have full custody. I'm employed. Legally. There's no reason. Nevertheless, we're required to investigate. Monday at 10. She hung up before I could argue further. I stood frozen in my new living room, phone still pressed to my ear, understanding crashing over me like a wave. Isabella. It had to be Isabella. Banished from the family, stripped of her power, she'd found one final way to hurt me. Through Maya. Through the system designed to protect children but so often weaponized against vulnerable mothers. My hands started shaking. I'd dealt with CPS before, when I was younger and poorer, and living in worse neighborhoods. They'd investigated complaints from concerned neighbors who thought a 23-year-old single mother couldn't possibly provide adequate care. I'd passed their inspections, but the fear never quite left, that one day someone would decide I wasn't good enough, and they'd take Maya away. Mama? Maya appeared on the stairs, her new sketch pad open to a partially drawn bird. You look scared. What's wrong? I forced my face into something resembling calm. Nothing, baby. Just adult stuff. Nothing for you to worry about. But I was terrified, and for the first time since moving into the cottage, I wondered if Teresa was wrong. Maybe we weren't safe here at all. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw social workers taking Maya, saw her crying and reaching for me while strangers decided we belonged apart. By 5 a.m., I gave up and made coffee in my new kitchen, watching sunrise paint the trees outside gold and pink. The knock on the door at 6:30 startled me so badly I nearly dropped my mug. Dominic stood on the porch, still dressed in last night's clothes, his hair disheveled like he'd been running his hands through it repeatedly. His eyes held the kind of exhaustion that came from no sleep and too much thinking. I know it's early, he said, but I needed to. May I come in? I stepped aside, let him enter. He moved to the kitchen island, leaned against it like he needed the support. Isabella filed the CPS report, he said without preamble. I found out an hour ago. One of my contacts in the system called to give me warning. I know. They called yesterday. They're coming Monday. I'm going to fix this. How? You can't bribe social workers. You can't threaten them. This isn't something money or power can solve. My voice cracked despite my best efforts. They're going to see that I'm working for you, living on your property, and they're going to decide Maya isn't safe. They're going to take her. No, they won't. He moved closer, his intensity almost frightening. I won't let that happen. You can't stop it. Yes, I can. He pulled out his phone, showed me a document. This is a contract amendment. It states that your employment is completely independent. You have a separate cottage, separate finances, no personal relationship with me whatsoever. Your housing is part of your compensation package, standard for live-in. Household managers, everything legal, everything documented, everything normal. But it's not normal. It's you trying to protect me from consequences of working for you. It's me making sure your daughter doesn't pay for my sister's vindictiveness. His voice was fierce, almost desperate. Naomi, I have lawyers who specialize in this. I have character witnesses. Teresa, Mrs. Chen. Even Vincent can testify that Maya is happy and safe and thriving here. We have documentation of your employment, your qualifications, the cottage's safety features. We can bury them in paperwork that proves beyond any doubt that you're an excellent mother providing a stable home. And if that's not enough? He was quiet for a long moment. Then I remove myself from the equation. What does that mean? It means I transfer ownership of this cottage to you outright. It means I fire you publicly while keeping you on payroll through an offshore account. It means I create enough distance between us that CPS has no basis for their concerns. His jaw clenched. It means I give up having you here if that's what keeps Maya safe. The sacrifice implicit in that offer stole my breath. You'd do that? Lose your household manager and a property just to protect us? I'd do anything to protect you. The words came out quiet, almost involuntary. His eyes widened slightly like he hadn't meant to say that out loud. The air between us changed, became electric with unspoken things. I saw the truth in his face. This wasn't just about guilt over his sister's actions or responsibility for his employees. This was something deeper, more dangerous, more real. Dominic, I'm not asking for anything, he said quickly. I'm not expecting gratitude or anything else. I just need you to know that I'll do whatever it takes. Whatever you need. You and Maya. You're not alone in this. I wanted to keep my walls up, to maintain professional distance, to remember that this man was dangerous and his world was darker than I could imagine. But standing in my kitchen at dawn, looking at someone who'd sacrifice his own comfort for my daughter's safety, those walls crumbled. Help me prepare for the inspection, I said. Show me what documentation they'll want, what questions they'll ask. Help me prove that Maya belongs with me. Relief flooded his expression. I'll have my lawyer here within the hour. We'll build a case so strong they'll apologize for bothering you. And after? When they clear the inspection and Isabella realizes this didn't work? His face went cold, that dangerous mask sliding back into place. Then I have a conversation with my sister about consequences, the permanent kind. Dominic, you can't. She tried to hurt your child. His voice was lethal. There are lines even family doesn't cross. She crossed it. I should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the casual way he discussed violence. Instead, I felt something else. A dark satisfaction that someone was finally willing to fight for me and Maya with the same ruthlessness the world had always shown us. Okay, I said. We fight this together. He nodded, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. Together. Maya's footsteps sounded from upstairs, early riser like her mother. Dominic glanced toward the stairs, then back at me. I should go. Let you have breakfast with her. But I'll send Marco with the lawyer by 8. We'll get through this, Naomi. I promise. He left through the back door, disappearing into the early morning like a shadow. I stood in my kitchen, coffee growing cold in my hand, and wondered what I'd just agreed to. Partnership with a criminal. Trust in someone whose profession was built on breaking laws. Faith that he'd protect us when everyone else had failed. But as I heard Maya singing off-key upstairs, as I looked around the beautiful house that was suddenly threatened, I knew I'd made the only choice possible. Sometimes survival meant accepting help from dangerous places. Sometimes safe meant standing beside someone who knew how to fight. And sometimes, against all logic and reason, the monster turned out to be the hero. I just hoped we'd all survive what came next. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.